Hi, it's really a challenge to find the best products that can be deserving of your hard-earned money. It may be easier when you have a reliable source like our channel. Actually, our team reviewed a lot of products, analyzed endless reviews from the actual users, and made our rankings based on many factors, such as price, quality, durability, performance, and the reputation of the manufacturer. If you choose from this list, you can be sure that you're buying one of the best products. You can see their latest prices and find out more information about these products by using the links below in the description. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Okay, so let's get started with the video.
Are you looking for the best car battery disconnect switches in your budget? Well, in today's video, we break down the top 5 best car battery disconnect switches that are available on the market. Starting at number 5, we have the Zoostliss battery disconnect. There are two neat things about this switch, and both lend themselves well for using this switch on smaller, non-car things. The first thing is that it's easy to mount anywhere since it's really compact and designed to be externally mounted. The second thing is that it's operated using a removable key, so if you don't want someone to use your lawnmower when you aren't home, you can just leave with the key. The quality could be better. That's something that's expected from a cheaper product, but it's worth saying. The other issue is that you can lose the key. The key is on the big side and awkwardly shaped, so it is not something you can just thread onto your keychain and forget about. Chances are you'll throw it into a toolbox where it will get lost in a sea of sockets, and then you'll go to try and dump your trailer of dirt and won't be able to find it. The Zoostliss switch here is low in cost, which lets it compete against the screw-style switches. That means if you don't want a terminal-mounted disconnect and are on a budget, this is the best option we list. Moving on, at number 4, we have the Stinger SGP3880 battery isolator and relay. Most switches have to be installed near the battery because it's difficult to run the heavy cables needed. A relay-controlled switch solves that issue because you can install the body close to the battery but operate it using a switch mounted anywhere. The biggest reason to use something like this is that it makes for excellent theft protection. You hide the on/off switch somewhere in your cabin, like under a cup holder or behind a false panel. When you park in a bad area, you flip the switch. That way, even if some loser manages to get into your car, they can't hotwire it since the battery is disconnected. The amp rating is fairly low, which is unfortunate. If you are isolating a secondary battery or just interrupting a solenoid signal for anti-theft, it's fine. It's going to break if you try to use it as a main cutoff for your entire system. If you compare this switch to a dedicated disconnect like the Blue Sea switch, you'll find a lot to complain about. The Blue Sea switch is waterproof, can handle a large amount of current, and is incredibly durable. This Stinger switch is none of those things. At number 3, we have the ABIGAIL side post battery disconnect. The greatest thing about a knife-style disconnect is that they are incredibly simple and easy to understand. It's just a bar of metal that is either making a connection or not. What that's best for is for people who do a lot of work on their vehicle and will be connecting or disconnecting the battery often. You can flip it off, make a change, then flip it on without needing to spend a ton on a high amperage rotary switch. There are a few big disadvantages to the knife-style design. The most significant problem is that it has a ton of exposed copper, so you absolutely should not use it on the positive terminal. That leads to the second issue, which is that it has to be installed on the side of the battery. It takes up a lot of room, so if you are cramped for space in the engine bay, it's a terrible option. For most people, something like the top post master switch is a better option because that style of terminal is more common and that style of switch is more secure. However, if you have screw-style terminals, which are really common in GM vehicles, then you can't use the top post master switch. That leaves a remote switch, or something that can mount to the side of the battery like this knife switch. At number 2, we have the top post master disconnect. The best thing about a screw-style post-mount switch like this is that they could not be easier to install. You pop the battery cable off and slip the switch onto the terminal. That makes installing these switches a very approachable project for anyone. They are also cheap, but unlike a lot of inexpensive things, they are still fairly strong. You have to mount it to the battery, which means you have to have access to the battery to use it. You also need space, although not as much as other styles of terminal-mounted switches. The only issue that you might run into is that since they are so cheap, there are inconsistencies from part to part that affect the size and shape. You may find that it's not quite big enough to just slip onto a terminal, or that the post is too big for a standard cable end. It's nothing a tap with a rubber hammer won't fix, but it can be annoying. We have a right angle switch here that installs and functions identically, but can help if your cable routing doesn't allow for the extra length this switch offers. Also, if you don't have a standard post-style battery, you'll need a remote switch or a side post switch. You will have to spend more for just about everything else though, even if it's not much more. When a car part can be cheap and straightforward, it's hard to justify spending more for a piece that performs the same. Finally, at number 1, we have the Kohree battery disconnect. The Kohree switch is just a simple on/off dial. Nothing really stands out about it, but it works just fine, and it's inexpensive. It's easy enough to mount, simple to use, and is instantly identifiable as a battery disconnect. Usually that's all you want. It's all plastic, which means it won't last as long as a metal switch. Most people don't disconnect their batteries often, so this switch will probably last as long as your battery, with no issue. The bigger issue is that it can't be installed flush. In fact, it's a little awkward to install altogether. It has plastic covers that keep debris out, which is nice but adds frustration to the process. Everything else on our list has some specialty. That means if you need something specific, there's probably a better option. For instance, if you have a high amperage application, there's this switch that can handle a lot more current. If you need better security, this inexpensive switch is operated by a separate key. If flush mounting is important to you, this quick car switch is perfect.
Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you liked this video. If this video was helpful to you, please make a sure like, comment, subscribe.